This is definitely your much larger Peninsula style. Tell us a bit about this tank here.
2 years ago, I started with the concept of this tank. It's a 215 gallon, 6 foot long custom aquarium. I'm a big fish guy, so it's tall.
Yeah.
And a basic criteria of this tank had to do with its size and placement. You know, it's an integrated part of the house. There was nothing commercially available at that time, still isn't, that really meets this criteria. All your tank stands have either doors that hinge out or doors that slide out or something of that nature, and I really don't have the space for that. I wanted a big tank, but I wanted to be able to access the tank without having to rearrange the furniture in the house.
Yeah.
My choice was to purchase a custom tank and custom build my own stand. This stand is built out of mostly 2x8 lumber, laminated with 3/4 inch cabinet plywood. It also has 3/8 inch by 1.5 inch stainless steel spines embedded that run all the way down the length. So it has no vertical supports down the center of the cabinet whatsoever. The stand is my design, I built it, and it'll support 16,000 pounds at the center with less than a 1/16 of an inch deflection.
Wow. So
it's a very rugged stand. Built things into it like access areas for pump controls. My idea of wire management is at least having it identifiable. It's not the super sleek channel and everything, which you'll see that.
Still looks clean,
but it's manageable and not a rat nest.
So who's the maker of this tank?
This is a Planet Aquariums custom tank.
Got it. Tell us about the maintenance with this tank, because I know you mentioned with the one here, you do about 20 minutes total, huh?
It's more because this is larger. I mean, glass cleaning there's a lot of glass on this tank.
Yeah.
You have 2 long glasses you have to keep clean. That's pretty much an every other day thing. As far as maintenance under the tank, I have a fleece roller system. I have a trigger platinum sump.
That's right.
With a fleece roller system, and running a Maxspect skimmer. So, it's empty the fish toilet every couple of days. I have to trim the excess on the roller once a week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the take-up fleece. You have to keep that trim back, or it tends to skew off.
Got it.
But overall, I gotta say I'm pretty disappointed in the trigger systems. So, well, I can kind of show you. First off, let me show you, before we get that deep into it, let me show you one thing about the cabinet. These are the panels.
Oh shoot!
They're foam board.
I could have sworn that these were wood whenever I was seeing them on there.
Right.
Nice.
So they're foam board painted to match the rest of the house, so they blend in with everything and magnetically latched. This setup's been running a year, And you see the condition of these boards.
Oh, yeah.
So this is one of the best ideas I've had. Echo, turn on Peninsula cabinet. There we go.
Tell me again the maker of this sump.
Trigger.
Trigger
This
Systems.
is Trigger Systems Platinum Sump, which is their top of the line sump. It comes with their fleece roller system. My issue with their sump, with their roller system, is the guide rollers in that fleece chamber are not removable. You cannot take them out and clean them. You have to try to scrub them in place. So you wind up having to try to rotate them by hand and scrub the debris, the barnacles, the spheroids and stuff
that builds up on
it. You have to try to scrub them by hand in an area where you can barely get your hand into the chamber. So it is not serviceable from a practical standpoint. And that's a major design issue in my opinion.
Wow, so how long does it take you when it comes to maintaining this, just the sump alone? And
well, what it has resulted in is that I no longer try to scrub them.
got it.
They just don't spin. And unfortunately that causes the take-up side of the fleece media to skew. And so I wind up having to trim that roll at least once a week and kind of realign it, set it back up. So it's not that put a roll in it and let it run 4 to 6 weeks that everybody expects.
Not with this one, at least.
Not with this one.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, sorry that you're having to go through that with the fleece roller. I know the expectation really is not to have to touch it for 2 months, right?
Right. In my experience, that's not realistic at all. If I had it to do over again, I would do a different fleece system.
So let's discuss the lights on this one. Looks like you are using Reefbreeders.
Right.
Which tank was set up first?
That one was set up first, but with different lighting. That's the most recent one.
Most recent light. Okay, so how are you liking these lights, and how come you decided to go to something different?
Actually, I bought the 100-watt version, the slightly smaller version of that light. I bought that for my quarantine tank, and I was really impressed with the light. Very impressed with the light.
Tell me about these lights and what made you use these lights for this tank.
I was looking for a panel light. I want a quality light, but I'm not a person that will pay for a brand name.
Yeah.
I want a quality of product. The Reefbreeders seem to kind of hit that nice middle ground.
Yep.
I saw a couple of good reviews on the Reefbreeder lights, and they're not cheap, that's for sure, but they're also not the most expensive out there.
Yeah.
And I've been very happy with those lights. They are a pain in the butt to set up.
Oh, really?
They are a pain to set up because you have to program 6 different channels, 1-hour intervals, every single value for 24 hours.
So it's not your simple, this is the time that I wanted to turn on, this is the time that I wanted to turn off, and this is the spectrum that I want for it. And
no such
automatic
thing.
Okay, so this is each and every single one of them.
Yeah, each and every single channel, 6 different channels on 1-hour increments has to be programmed.
I saw you use that remote over there to program it. Is that wireless?
Yes.
Okay.
It is Wi-Fi on that.
It's a Wi-Fi remote.
So these lights will go, they come as Wi-Fi, or you can buy an optional 0 to 10 volt, pull the Wi-Fi module out, and put the 0 to 10 volt in and drive them from an Apex.
So Apex compatible.
Yeah, they are Apex compatible.
Have you measured the PAR in here for these lights?
Yes. These lights right now are, let's see, at this moment they're running 80%. And these lights are running around 120 at the sand, roughly 250 center, and 300 up top.
Wow. Let's see, what else do we still have to talk about?
Let's talk about cooling.
Let's talk about cooling.
When I initially designed this, I put that little muffin fan on, thinking that would push enough air through, or to keep basic cooling under this cabinet. That was not the case.
So
what I opted to do, I have a hydros control system on this, by the way.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
What got you into wanting to get the hydros controller?
As I said, I'm really not big on brand name stuff, and I don't mind pioneering a product that I think has a good potential.
And it definitely seemed like they do.
That's where the Hydros was at the time I was engineering this setup. So I went with the Hydros system, kind of went out on a limb with it. I have the big Control 4 on here, as well as the Sense 4. So when it came to cooling, I found out that fan was insufficient. I started looking for other ways of cooling the cabinet. I did a lot of experimenting and discovered that really the most effective way was to run a higher volume fan for a short period of time over running a lower volume fan continuously. So it's been my experience that continuous movement of air is not really the way to go. What you really need to do most effectively is to purge the air volume under the cabinet at one time. So I have a thermosensing probe that's attached to the Hydros that sits just under the tank at the top of the cabinet. The way I have it programmed is anytime the cabinet exceeds 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the fan will kick on. Or for 5 minutes every 20 minutes it runs. So it'll do both. All controlled by the Hydros. This is a generic window fan that I modified the wiring on it so that it comes on anytime the power is applied. Because most of them nowadays are electronic controls, and when you unplug them and plug them back up, they don't come back on.
Got it.
So I modified the electronics in this to where it runs anytime power is applied. And I use a Wi-Fi controlled outlet off of the Hydros to power this fan.
Nice.
So it's actually a window fan that's turned vertical. The fan itself was like less than $50.
Wow. Okay.
If you count the temperature probe and the fan and whatever else I may have thrown in there, that cooling system is less than $100. And that fan setup has allowed me to avoid a chiller completely.
So no chiller.
No chiller.
Wow.
And I'm running a 55 watt UV on this tank. So there's a tremendous amount of heat being produced.
Where do you keep the tank temperature at?
78 degrees.
78 degrees, constant year round?
Yep.
So what about in the winter? Do you heat your water up with heaters, your basic tank heaters?
Yeah, I have basic tank heaters. They're actually in the overflow chamber. They have integrated thermostats on them, but I actually use the Hydros system with the temperature sensor and the water stream as the primary on and off, and the heaters are set at 82 Fahrenheit for emergency shut-off.
Emergency shut-off, yeah. How long did you tell me again that this tank has been running now?
It's been running 1 year.
Water changes here, 10% as well every week?
10% every week.
Hydros controller. What else do you control with that?
All the usuals. I mean, I can, as far as turning equipment on and off, monitoring pH, return pump is controlled by that, although it has its own control system as far as enabling the return pump that's on there. I have a rope leak detector around the entire perimeter of the cabinet. The UV unit's controlled by the Hydros. Skimmer on and off by the Hydros. I have an ATO system with a 10-gallon reserve tank. It's completely automated by the Hydros. I did take things, and this is worth mentioning. We were talking about that fleece roller earlier.
Yeah.
One of the big changes I made was I wound up stripping out all of Trigger Systems' drive system. I just reused their motor and mechanical setups, and I actually drive their motor from the Hydros. So I replaced the mechanical sensors in their Sump. I replaced all those with the optical sensors that the Hydros has. And so I monitor a variety of conditions in this Sump that allows me to advance that fleece when it really needs to be advanced, and only as much as it needs to be advanced.
And all through the Hydros.
And all through the Hydros. So what that did, that allowed me to take the typical 150-foot roll of fleece from about 3 weeks of lifetime, which is what I was getting, to I'm up to around 5 to 6 weeks now.
Oh wow!
And at $30 a roll, that's pretty easy to cost justify.
Yeah, no, the rolls can get very expensive for sure.
So I'm actually driving the fleece the fleece drive system, advancing the fleece and controlling it with the hydros.
You have a lot of DIY in this tank.
Yeah, there's a lot in it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But it fits in my house.
Yeah,
that's what I like it.
It looks, I mean, the position of it, where you have it, how it divides this. I don't know if this is the dining area,
right,
in the living room perfectly. I mean,
you want to take a look at the other side?
Yeah, let's do that.
So we'll talk full disclosure. So full disclosure, the only furniture rearranging I have to do is this. Pull my big recliner out just so an old fat guy can get in there. And then door panels come right off.
Here we have all the goodies. Now I can see this fleece roller. You use
Fluidized bed filters.
Is this going to control?
Nitrates and phosphates. So that's biopellets. So these are not biopellet reactors. These are fluidized bed filters that you can buy from PetSmart, Petco, whatever, the Lifeguard brand. You can buy them for about $60 a piece.
I'm assuming you know how much they sell.
I know how much biopellet reactors and how much they cost. Yeah, I'm very well aware. You buy these for about $60 a piece. You hang a good CJ pump off of the inside of them, and voila.
And they do the job, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's beautiful agitation. It's exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. Where do you keep your, nitrates and phosphates?
Okay, well, this is a heavy fish populated tank. I keep my nitrates and phosphates, nitrates below 20 is my goal, and phosphates below 0.2 is my goal. But honestly, with all the testing, and Michael and I share parameters constantly, which is a big thing for me. I like comparing between tanks and seeing how people's tanks are running. I've checked water from some of the local fish stores that are running 30 and 40 in their display tanks. So it's not so much about where the numbers are as where your numbers typically should be. And this tank runs high, but there's a lot of livestock in this tank.
Oh, ATO. How often are you having to fill this one from the evaporation?
I go through about 3 gallons a week.
That's not bad.
Of course, I'm running 2/3 of this tank is running covered right now.
So earlier you told me about PAR. When you measured PAR, did you measure it with these covers on?
With the panels in place, yeah. Passing through that.
Got it. So you were very specific of what kind of panel you got for this?
Yes. This is a greenhouse panel material. You buy it at Home Depot. I buy it by the sheet.
How much was the sheet?
Sheet's $35 for a 2-foot by 8-foot sheet, something like that.
And you did this mainly because of evaporation?
Right, because of evaporation and keep fish from jumping out. Here's one thing I'll show you I did do with these panels. I used silver paint on the underside to mask off an area and create a reflective area so I don't have algae growth in my overflow. Because when I first set it up, I had a lot of algae growth in the overflow.
How much would you say it cost you to build this stand?
This stand was pretty expensive. Probably $1,200 worth of materials in this stand.
Got it.
The stainless steel alone was $300.
Got it. Yeah, this is very nice. What do you think of that skimmer right there?
I like that skimmer.
This is that Jump Maxspect one, right?
Yep, it is.
Okay. Tell me about this nice little trigger here.
Oh, the story of Bozo. Bozo the clown trigger. I really didn't think about it when I put a clown trigger in. I didn't realize that triggers are very competitive with any of the sand dwellers. So diamond gobies, they don't tolerate diamond gobies. The other thing I found out, unfortunately, he does not tolerate is cleaner wrasses. So he's wiped out 3 or 4 diamond gobies and 3 or 4 cleaner wrasses, and I'm just pretty much going to have to give up on those 2 fish, which is unfortunate. I love them. I love cleaner wrasses. They have such a great role, especially if you're going to have tangs. They help keep your tangs healthy, but I just can't keep one in this tank. He'll kill it.
How long have you had him?
I've had him about 6 months.
So how big was he when you got him?
He was probably the size of that CBA right there, about 3 inches.
So they grow pretty fast?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you feed them well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, his food sometimes it comes from the LFS in a plastic bag. $30 sushi meals.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you'd like to add before we end this episode?
I would say the magic year is a real thing. I heard that a lot from friends and others in the hobby about how that first year is so difficult. And I fought a lot of things, including I had a really, really, really bad ick breakout early on in this tank, about 3 to 4 months in, and went through hyposalinity and all sorts of things. You know, I've had my share of ups and downs and trials and tribulations. I killed off a large amount of my livestock through a mistake with lanthanum chloride. I've had my ups and downs, but as this tank has approached a year of age, things have really started to smooth out, almost magically so. As you pull livestock from different sources, you pull in biological diversity, and given time for that to mature, there's just no substitute for that. And this was a dry rock start. I built all this rock.
Yeah, the scape is really nice. Absolutely. The sand looks very clean.
You know, the vertical gyres are a big part of this. This tank has an unbelievable amount of flow. I'm moving 1,400 gallons an hour through just the return system.
Wow.
And those are the Those are the 4K gyres, and I'm running at 71%. 450 gallons of that. Effectively, that pump's moving. When you consider head pressure and piping resistance and so forth, it amounts to head pressure. The pump is moving just over 1,450 gallons an hour. 400 to 450 of that is being bypassed through the UV. But the return system overall is moving just over 1,400 gallons per hour, which is the maximum that the weir slots will allow. You can't get any more water to pass through the weir slots.
Without it causing an issue of overflowing, right?
Yeah.
You use one of these on both sides?
I use one of those on both sides. They run in opposite rotational directions. And I played with a lot of flow patterns, run just a basic sine wave pattern. Those are the IceCap 4Ks.
Coral view.
Yeah, those are IceCap 4Ks.
I'm still in shock on how huge those mushrooms are. Like, this is what I'm used to right here.
Right.
Those little ones right there. And this, I mean, nobody's ever going to be able to tell what it looks like on video. They're just...
The colors, yeah.
And the colors, yeah, I mean, it's a two-tone color with those. So this here is your QT tank.
Correct.
What do you QT with? Do you use medications, or do you mean QT, just observation?
I do both.
Okay.
When I bring a fish in, my first goal is to observe it and see if it's eating or not. Certainly want to try to make sure the fish is eating and has a healthy appetite, if at all possible. Because they have to have a healthy appetite or they won't survive the medication cycle.
Yep.
Then based on what I see from the fish, I may prophylactically treat them with copper and Pro, the two standard issue meds that I use.
I notice you have a hydros controller in here as well.
Yep, run the hydros controller on this for basic pH and temperature monitoring and basic controls. I run a UV sterilizer on it, and this is an OASE Biomaster 650. Pretty much set up the same way. I run matrix media in it, but the system gets scrubbed, rinsed, and bleached between QT cycles.
Got it. All right, so you are going to show me your mixing station, I'm assuming this is.
Yep, this is my mixing station. So everybody's always trying to figure out where to put their water systems at. Well, I looked around, it's like, I have space over the dryer. What can I do? So I bought some special shelf brackets that are rated at 800 pounds each.
Oh, wow.
And put down a piece of cedar board. And this is a 28-gallon tank that I bought from local Petco on sale for $40
per gallon, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I do have a whole house water filtration system that does basic sediment and carbon block filtration before it ever gets here. And then I run through 3 more stages, a 1 micron sediment and 2 carbon blocks, my RO membrane using the Smart Buddy booster pump, and the DI cartridge here, and this is just a spare available. I can put a second DI in there if I want to. The reasoning behind most of this, besides a good place to do it, is I'm on a community well system, and they use chloramines, and sometimes the chloramines are sky high and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's full of trash and sometimes it's not. So I needed consistency, and this is how I got it. But with this system, I'm able to, I use 3/8 inch silicone hose for my water changes. I can execute a water change in that big tank in 1 hour and 15 minutes, end to end.
Very cool, very cool. All right. Well, Jeff, I want to say thank you again for having me over and letting me get you on camera. I like the outfit you put on for, especially for this video.
Thanks to my daughter for the shirt, man.
Awesome. If you're watching this, if you like this episode, please make sure that you hit the like button. If you have any questions for Jeff, make sure to leave them on the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.